All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Yahweh Kodesh, the blindness to the elders and apostles of Cretan Stone. Shalom to the elect wishing this word in truth and in sincerity. With hope of receiving mercy of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father. Yahweh Shai is the name of his only begotten Son. These so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites according to the prophecies that are written in the scriptures. I want to make it known that the RFID microchip is the charagma written about in Revelation 13, verse 16 on down, which is the MOTB. The miracle jug is a precursor to the MOTB. Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly called Jesus, is about to make his return upon the earth to deliver his elect and to pour out judgment as it is written. So, I want to go straight into this lesson dealing with the collapse of the economies around the world. And the main economy we are focus on right now is America. As we have a saying out here in Jamaica, America sneeze, Jamaica catch a cold. Because a lot of people out here feel like things are going okay, not knowing how serious at times they're living in. At any given time, the economy can go belly up. But people don't really understand these things. So I'm going to just give you a prelude of things that these economists are saying before we just run this clip. So this is the first one. It says, don't get distracted. How central banks are looking to make you a slave. And a lot of people now see them narratives here because with them they are being distracted by all these social media platforms, looking on TikTok just to get few giggles in. That's what the scripture says. The heart of the wise are in the house of mourning, but the hearts of the foolish are in the house of mirth. Just as our Lord said, just as the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. That's the same spirit that the inhabitants of the earth are in now, even in such a chaotic time. Alright, so it's a major market meltdown is coming. These are the economists speaking, because when we say it, it sounds like say we just come out of our own mind, not knowing that man, we are doing our research, man, we are doing our due diligence. You have a lot of people they buy up Bitcoin over there. This hour, Bitcoin left for dead as gold set to soar. And Apostle Tahar being a going and say, oh, brothers can invest in a gold and silver, But we don't trust in these things, or trust is in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Let's see some more. Listen, this is how the Fed will seize your money in 2023. Look on these headlines, It says, has the Federal Reserve lost their mind? No. It says, I'm still heavy cash. Prepare for pain in 2023, warn Mark Moss. So this is just few of the headlines. So let's watch this clip.
Performs very poorly. So I think the market is celebrating prematurely, is celebrating potentially the wrong thing, because what investors have to ask themselves is, why is the Fed pausing? And why is the Fed eventually going to be cutting rates as the market is predicting on the Fed futures curves? Is likely because the recession will be deeper and harder than people think. So typically stocks have a hard time at the pause point or at the beginning of a rate cut cycle, because the economy is decelerating and getting worse in real time. So the celebrations may be shorter lived than we hope here, with the market celebrating a pause, because what comes next will probably be an economic recession and lowering earnings estimates and potentially a choppy market again in 2023.
The last time you were on, Michael, you were saying that the market had up until that point been very complacent and basically listening to the Fed's every word. So are you saying a rebellion could happen now, where the market's going to be like, enough?
I think this time last year, I think we spoke almost the exact same time last year, Daniela. The market was extremely expensive. The market was very complacent about the Fed actually getting aggressive about hiking interest rates and fighting inflation. I recall telling you, if the Fed ever did get serious about hiking rates, that the market would have a really difficult time, and that's exactly what happened last year. I think right now the market's less complacent. The market's got beat up pretty badly. There's a lot more value that I see in the market. Small cap stocks, certain parts of the market have really got crushed, versus last year, everything was pretty much uniformly expensive. I remember telling you.
Say this, recession will be deeper. People will get poorer. And right now, that's what's going on. Right now, before your eyes, yo.
Your viewers just hold cash, gold, and silver and wait for a better day. I'm not saying that better day is here today, because now we're facing a slowing economy, which typically is hard for stocks to work into. But there is more value in single stock names. And if you're a good stock picker, you can find names that are down 70, 80, 90% off the highs, where last year that was not the case. So I think it's going to be a choppy market where, you're not going to have the tailwind of 20% a year returns for 10 years like we had the last decade of the market. But really you have to earn your mettle, picking stocks, taking profits, being more tactical and more flexible in your investment approach than versus the typical buy and hold approach that we had for the last 10, 12 years that worked very well until it didn't.
And I just want to say, we'll get back to sectors you're liking in a bit, but you were right on the money last year when we spoke at this time. You had forecasted that, it wouldn't be a good year for equity. So now you're saying choppiness for 2023.
Correct. And what's going to determine whether it's choppy or significant pain for investors in 2023 will be the extent of the economic downturn. And that's going to be dictated a lot by the Fed in terms of how long they keep rates higher. They're talking about keeping rates higher for an elevated period of time. The Fed fund futures are showing rates coming down rapidly in 2023 and 2024 once they're done hiking rates. If the Fed chooses to keep rates at that 4.5-5% level for an elevated period, I think the economy is going to be in a difficult position and stocks will have a hard time working. If the Fed does truly pivot and starts cutting rates aggressively, I think it'll be more of a choppy market where the market will cheer the rate cuts but be worried about what the economy is actually doing behind the scenes, and it'll be a bit of an up and down, battle over 2023. So a lot of it's going to depend on how aggressive the Fed is and what the implications are for the economy of their posture.
Michael, I know you like studying history and often look to history to figure out where we're going next. And just getting back to the inflation narrative, if we compare it to the 1970s, we know that it didn't just come in one wave; it was 3 waves. So would you know?
Listen, this heading also that's under the video. It's a global monetary reset is here. Countries no longer want to be held hostage. That's why a lot of people are moved from the SWIFT system, You have countries like Russia, China, Brazil, and many others want to move from the SWIFT system because America have them hostage, But how much people right now understand these things? Right now, them are going to go into inflation, And this is something you can see before your eyes in real times when you go to the supermarkets or your normal corner shops. The money where you normally go with a month ago for get certain groceries, when you go with that same amount of money, you're getting less goods. And that's not just every month, that's every week, basically every minute. So let's listen.
I'd agree this is just the end of wave 1.
Yeah, very likely. One thing I've been saying a lot, Daniela, is we're going to have to choose as a society, as governments, as the central banks, between higher inflation or lower economic growth. We're going to enter a period where, typically if you had 2% inflation and 3 or 4% GDP growth, I think that paradigm is going to shift going forward to 4% inflation with 2% GDP growth. And what that really means is negative real growth or slower subpar economic growth. Your point on the inflation is a very good one, Daniela. If you look at the cause of inflation, most of it is supply driven. We have a lack of commodities, underinvestment in commodities across all sectors, which are pushing up commodity prices. We have lack of labor. We have lack of productivity. We have lack of hard work. We have a lot of red tape and bureaucracy in our countries, Canada and the US, which affects productivity. That is much harder to fix. You cannot fix productivity and supply shortages with a blunt hammer of interest rate increases. That'll kill your demand, but it won't solve your supply problem. So as soon as the demand starts to pick up again, if your supply is still constrained, you're going to have inflation running hotter than it has for years, I think, for a long period of time. So if 2% was the old paradigm, I think 3 to 4% might be the new paradigm, or higher, depending on what the Fed wants to tolerate. But the fact is we're going to have higher structural inflation for longer. Not the 15, 20% numbers we were seeing in the trenches last year, but it's going to be structurally higher for longer, is my view.
Let's dive into the scriptures, yo. This is Haggai 1, verse 5. It says, Now therefore, thus saith Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai of hosts, consider your ways. Ye have sown much and bring in little. And the hardest workers right now are you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. I want to have a show for the labor I want to put in, you want to build up kingdoms right now. I want to have a show for it. Ye have eat, yea, ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. Why is that so? So just imagine, before inflation was moving on the level that it is moving now, you already was earning wages to put it in a bag with holes, man. Meaning the money don't have any value. You're constantly being bombarded with debt. And this is all by design now, because the elites plan to crush the economy so they can bring in their new system. That's why right around the world you hear them make mention of CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency, because that's the next step. And after that, when they introduce that, they're going to come in with that RFID microchip, yo. And this thing is going to move speedily, yo. I'm going to go for other precept just as that came to mind. This is Habakkuk. I'm going to say 2. I'm going to start at verse 4. It said, Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. And this is talking about Esau, Edom, yo. Those that are ruling the world right now. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. He enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Whether thing when we just read, and there it say a global monetary reset is here. Countries no longer want to be held hostage, yo. So let's read this part. It said, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. What that thick clay represent? Let's go for it so you can understand. This is Habakkuk, back in Habakkuk. To verse 6. So thick clay. Let's look it up. It's the Hebrew word Ibat Yat. And it means weight of pledges, heavy debt. Heavy debts. And we feel like the American dollar is, yo, a debt note, because it's not backed by anything, yo. In the 1970s, President Nixon removed the dollar from the gold standard, having the dollar floating, But how much people understand these things? How much people understand the position that they're in right now? Everybody feel like things are gonna get back to normal soon. But that's a vain imagination, You're being fed with lies on these mainstream news media outlets. You're not seeing what's coming. The scripture telling in Ecclesiastes said, the keepers of the house shall tremble. And it's a reason why the keepers of the house are tremble. Those are the economists. Those are the ones that are looking on the state of society, Import, export, the stock market, the trends, GDP. And what am I say? A collapse in the economy, So let's go back to this clip.
Risk of recession is very real for you next year?
If you look at the inversion of the yield curve, Daniela, I mean, we've rarely seen this type of extreme inversion in the yield curve. And the bond market's typically a more savvy predictor of economic future than the equity markets are. So yes, I think we're going to have a recession next year. The real question for investors is how deep a recession, how severe a recession are we going to have? And again, like I said, that'll depend a lot on if the Fed actually sticks to the rhetoric and keeps rates higher at 5% for 2 years. I think we'll have a very deep recession. If the Fed pivots, which they likely will do, I think you might have a more moderate recession. But that's why I'm still forecasting a choppy, difficult year for investors in 2023.
Let me ask you this. As we inch closer to a presidential election in the U.S., you don't win an election in a recession or with a very poor stock market. Now, we know that the Fed operates independently. But would you not think the Fed would want to see a better market here?
I think Joe Biden and the Democrats would like to see a better market for sure and see better.
It's not what you want to see, It's not what you want to see. Let's go into the scriptures. Because people feel like it's what they want. This is the will of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh shine the earth, Not what people want to see. This is what the Lord are going to do. Alright, so this is Jeremiah 51 verse 7. Babylon, which is America, Babylon had been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. That's why the nations don't want to be held hostage anymore. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. All for her, take balm for her pain. If so, be she may be healed. So where a lot of these, even the same economists, them are hope for a turn, But this is not what Yahweh Bashim Yoshaya declared. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. And this is what's being done now. A lot of these countries are not looking to America anymore. Everybody will look out for their best interests. So I hope this was edifying, just to show you what's going on. With that, I want to say Kalalal, Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham Raka Kodash. Shalom.